Bonjour, enchanté, je m'appelle Carter. No, I did take French though, don't sleep on me. Today we're here to talk about Nolan Traore, the French prospect, 6'4", lead guard, point guard, who throughout the draft process, throughout this past year, I think has gone kind of up and down on where you see him drafted. I think if we went back a couple months ago or like a year ago, Nolan Traore had top five draft pick buzz. He
Mhm.
was very much up there, had some up and down like lulls during the season, picked it up late and is playing very well towards the end of the season, which has a lot of teams kind of in the middle on where they are at with Nolan Traore, and that kind of also reflects where some of the people here at Sleepers Media have him ranked. He is currently 21st on our big board, thanks to things like this. Ralph has him as the ninth overall prospect on the board. Crazy man. But let me get crazier. I have him at 40th. I have him at 40th on my board. And to be honest with you, you can't stop me. I feel good about it. But Ralph, you having him ninth on the board, I would like to throw it over to you. How do you
Mhm.
feel about the young 18-year-old prospect, 6'4" Frenchman who some might think is one of the better guards in this class?
I like his game a lot. He's got your prototypical size for point guard. He is somebody who isn't like a true pass first guy in the sense where he doesn't want to look to score, but he has a really good feel for the game, knowing when he needs to attack, knowing when he needs to make plays for others. The defensive upside is there as well with his athleticism and just the size again at 6'4" and his ability to move laterally. I think it's all there. We saw inconsistencies throughout the course of this past season for him playing overseas. But I think this is going to get into something I'll talk about later. Is it possible that he like went up, played in the top league in Europe, one of the top leagues in Europe, went through the rookie struggles of playing against grown men, high level grown men for the first time, and came out on the other side being awesome at the end of the year?
I mean, there's a
Like,
world
is that like because the reason why people are down on him is because of those struggles. Is
yeah.
it possible that he just went through kind of like a similar thing to a rookie, rookie hump that he got over and started playing great again? I'm willing to bet that's the case more than I am that he just stinks now all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. I mean, you look at his first 15 games of the season, his splits were he averaged 10 a game, two rebounds, five assists, but his splits were 36%, 23%, and 69% from the line. Like it was awful. But in
Right.
the 14 games after that, almost 13 points a game, five assists a game. Splits were incredibly better though. 48 from the field, 43 from three, 75 from the line. And that's for an 18-year-old that is playing against grown men at the point guard spot,
Yeah.
which even as me as a Nolan Traore skeptic, that's very, very impressive and a really good point for you on kind of how he maybe had to go through some little, growing pains, I guess,
Yeah.
playing up against grown men as an 18-year-old, right?
I think so. And time will tell as to what happens there, but I think that's the why he's so polarizing is because you essentially split his season down the middle, right? Which half do you believe is he? And I think NBA teams are split on that as well because he's not some can't miss prospect to his game, but he's also not somebody who totally discount because of the good things that are in his game. And so I think the split, he's probably one of the most polarizing prospects in this draft for that reason.
Yeah, 100%. And you can't argue with the profile, 6'4", 185, and he's an 18-year-old against grown men. He's got speed, he's got all that. It'll be interesting to see kind of where he ends up going in this draft because I think, like you said, he's one of the more polarizing prospects in this draft. So with that said, can I get one word to describe Nolan Traore?
I say creative because I think his game, he is creative and getting done what needs to get done. Where he had some creative finishes at the rim, had some creative passes out of the pick and roll. Like there's just some a little bit more flair to his game than just kind of black and white, straightforward. Here's the read.
Yeah. So it's funny because when I was going through this, and I've used this a couple times on a couple other videos, you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said overrated. Now I think it's swayed too far, where I actually put underrated as the one word to describe him. Like,
Are
and
you underrating him?
I maybe a little bit. I'm a little bit harsh, but I've been hurt before. I'm a Pistons fan, so I have words on that we will talk about later in this video. But he has become underrated at this point. You have to somewhat pay attention to the splits, the second half of the season, and you can't argue with the size. You can't argue with some of the things that he can do defensively. It is Dyson Daniels-esque, I will say that. But also Dyson Daniels had to get to that point. So
Mhm.
floor or ceiling for Mr. Traore?
Ceiling. Yeah, I think the floor is the first half of the year where he's an inefficient shooter and doesn't do the other stuff well enough to stick in the league, let alone play. The upside is somebody who's a high level point guard in the NBA for a long time. I think he's more likely to figure it out and get back to being a productive, efficient player sooner rather than later.
Okay. Given where it's at, I said floor. I just don't know if I can confidently say that it's going to translate. Now, it could be a situation where it does end up translating eventually. Like, he's an 18-year-old point guard, so maybe it does translate. But I think I would have to see it somewhat. And I'm just more so banking on him being at his floor rather than his ceiling. What is one team that you think would be, or a team that you think would be the best fit for him?
I think the Wizards, because the Wizards don't have a clear cut like point guard or starting caliber point guard. And there's,
Please
talking.
respect Bub Carrington on this podcast. I'm sticking up for Tristan here.
Well, I do respect Bub Carrington, but I think there's a question if Bub Carrington is a one or a two. And the fact that the Wizards are shopping Jordan Poole and exploring trade market there makes me think that they think Bub is more of a two than a one. So if you bring Traore in there and your backcourt of the future is Bub and Traore, I think you're in a pretty good spot if you're Washington.
Yeah, that's definitely fair to say. I like that fit. There's a couple teams. I was looking at a couple like point guard-esque teams here that I think could use that type of player. And one like is actually the Trailblazers getting him. Now, I like Scoot Henderson. I'm a little bit iffy on what he's gonna end up being. If that's the guy you want to be your point guard, I think having a pass first guy with the defensive tools that Nolan Traore has, put that next to Anthony Simons, right? Put
Mhm.
that with Shaden Sharp on the wing as well. You had Donovan Clingan. Honestly, just by itself, the Klingon and the Traore defensive stuff, if that
Would be
pans
good.
out next to those guys, it could really work out. But you got to see where that team ends up falling on guys, uh, like Scoot Henderson and kind of how
Yeah.
that'll work out. But it could really be a part of like the young movement of that team. It's just kind of what they want to do with Scoot Henderson, moving forward here. Let's see, in 5 years, he will be All NBA, All Star, starter, bench, G League, overseas podcaster.
Starter. I think he will be in the all-star conversation, but I think he's more likely to be a starter and a quality one.
Yeah, I got overseas. I'm just buying the floor, and I got to stand on business, and I think the floor is going to be the floor. Nolan Traore is most likely to what?
Be a talking point for the next three drafts. From the standpoint of if there are guards who are highly rated and then struggle a little bit overseas, I think Nolan Traore is going to be the guy we all come back to. And it's like, well, it worked out for Traore because he went through kind of the rookie struggles overseas. Or it's going to be, we thought Troy was awesome. He played professionally in Europe, really struggled, and didn't pan out. We need to pay more attention to those struggles. So as we get more international guard prospects in the next couple of years, I think Traore's start to his career is going to reflect the way we value and look at those international guard prospects for the next 2 to 3 years.
That's fair. I said he's most likely to get me banned from France. I think some of my takes, eventually, if he turns out to be good, is something I think French Twitter is going to be in my mentions for years to come and call me an idiot and have me at war with France, which is not what I want. I don't want the whole Russia BYU thing to happen where I get Sleepers Media banned from France. I don't want that. So that's kind of where I'm at with most likely to. What's the best case comp for Nolan Traore?
Stayed France here. Taller Tony Parker,
Taller Tony, that's a hell of a player.
hell of a player. That's best case.
I mean, yeah, you're standing on. So you just think like the point guard stuff works out, and Tony Parker was kind of an underrated defender. I feel like the
Yeah, Tony Parker's size had some of that too, a lack of it, but he was an underrated defender, somebody who just had really good feel for the game, high basketball IQ, would score when he needed to, would make plays for others when he needed to, had that kind of just feel for when he needed to do what and what the game called for, what his team called for, and I think Traore's got a lot of that too.
Yeah, I like that. So for me, the best case scenario is like a bigger guard. I have questions about the jumper, but does a little bit of everything and is really good defensively. I said DeJounte Murray. Now I think
Okay.
DeJounte Murray's got like these freakishly long arms, but I think everything is there about being a two-way player and it kind of working out. And DeJounte Murray ended up being a pretty incredible, pretty good player in the league, even despite his injury concerns. He's gotten big payday here and there too. So I had DeJounte Murray as the pick there. What's the worst case comp for Nolan Traore?
Can you think of a French point guard who was valued highly who didn't work because he couldn't shoot?
Let me tell you, and he was another Kevin O'Connor love fest too. Kevin O'Connor, you lied to me, and I love you, but you lied to me. It's Killian Hayes. That's his comp. That man
Yep.
hurt me. It just never worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. Killian Hayes is the worst case scenario.
Don't do that to me. Honestly, I'm pulling for Nolan now. I wasn't at the start of this video. Now I am. I hope he reaches his ceiling. I hope he has a really good NBA career. He is going to be on the list of prospects who we are watching closely to see how it kind of plays out. Because watch a team talk to themselves into picking him like seventh. Also, like watch a team talk themselves into like letting him fall into like the late 20s. Maybe somebody gets a steal. It'll be interesting to see. As always, we have many more other draft videos on the channel to check out, getting you ready for draft season coming up over here at Sleepers Media. Check out some of our other prospect big board videos on the channel, and we will catch y'all next time.